What's up, y'all? Today we talking about how to restrain yourself from temptation while abstaining from sex. Key word, temptation, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is because we got to understand the boundaries that we need to put in place that will keep us strong when in the face of temptation, or restrain ourselves from temptation, right? Because I know a lot of people like to talk about the act, right? The sin, the falling. But how are you keeping yourself from falling? Right now, I could talk about this, right? And I know some of y'all might judge me, but it don't matter to me, man. Look, I've been on this abstaining from sex journey for years, right? I started to want to jump into this journey back in 2013. I had a little struggle once I said that for so many reasons. If y'all don't know my story, definitely go to my lives in my channel and look at my testimony, and I'll speak on that. I also got another video about abstaining from sex. But I told myself and I told God I wanted to start in 2013. It was hard for me, and then I eventually stopped February 24th, 2014. Right after that, I was Gucci for a little bit. I was not going to Bible studies. I was not going places where women were. I just was trying to remove it all. I even got into a relationship during that time in 2014, and I didn't have sex with her at all. But in 2016, actually in 2015 we broke up, but in 2016 of that summer, I actually slipped. And when I slipped, I kept slipping and I kept slipping. And I slipped until December 2017, y'all, where I had no sexual intercourse with nobody, right? It was it. That was it. But during that course of time, during that long length of time where I kept falling from 2016 to 2017, I was actually paying attention to myself, right? I was asking myself, like, why am I doing this? Why is this happening? Where is this coming from? What's causing me to do this, right? I was paying attention to my feelings when I would feel weak, the places I went, the women I spoke to, how I text someone, how someone spoke to me on the phone, my feelings in the moment. If I felt weak because of something that was going on with me and somebody else, or if I felt sad, if I felt lonely, I was paying attention to these things, which is what we need to pay attention to. But we also need to pay attention to our friends. We also need to pay attention to when we're drinking, which I'm not with the drinking thing, right? But we have to understand what happens when we drink and how drinking is a temptation. How drinking is actually the tree in the garden, which is temptation. Even though it is not a sin to drink, but drinking causes sins. Drinking is a temptation it's sin in a bottle. So it's temptation. It's a whole bottle of temptation. You understand what I'm saying? But what are we doing to keep ourselves from falling? Do I go up to the alligator and let the alligator bite me? Or how do I stay away from the alligator as soon as I see it? Or if I know people that want to go over there and play with the alligator. You know what I'm saying? Like, how am I training my mind, my body, my soul? How am I trying to practice where I can learn how to keep myself from something rather than saying, you know, if I do this, I'll be all right. If I take one drink, I'll be all right. I mean, I could kiss them and rub on their booty, but I ain't having sex with them because it's not a sin. But the sin is the last thing that you got to worry about. You got to worry about, how do you get to that sin? What do I cut off before I get to that? What do I put in place so that I don't get to that, right? So that I can live this lifestyle every day that I live, walking with God and abstaining from sex without falling now. Because that's what I did after. I was over here trying my hardest, and yeah, I was still weak, you know, and it took a couple more years after that, but I didn't have sexual intercourse with nobody. But I felt weak though. And I was doing little things like, man, I could do this. I could do that. No, man. I can't do that. So what am I going to do to make sure that I don't do that? I need to restrain myself. I need to keep it away. So what do? What do we do, y'all? We need to put in place perimeters and boundaries of everything that we need to do to restrain ourselves. We need to pay attention to when we are weak, right? If I know that me talking to this girl on the phone real late is gonna make me feel good and all of this and all of that, right? And it gives me that closeness that I want, but that's not my girlfriend, but that's not my wife, but that's not your boyfriend, but that's not your husband. But even if it is your girlfriend or boyfriend, you still gotta put some perimeters and boundaries in place, right? So that you don't fall into this thing, so that you won't be so enticed and pulled emotionally and sensually to this person. Do I gotta hug them like that when I'm around them? Can I give them a one arm hug? Do I gotta kiss that person on their mouth? You know what I'm saying? What about a kiss on the cheek? Or what about no kissing at all? What about challenging ourselves to not do things, kind of like when we fast, right? Because that's what I did. I was challenging myself. I had a whole kissing challenge, a whole no kissing challenge, right? Even when I see women now, it's one arm hug, right? Even certain things that I say to a woman, I gotta restrain myself, because back in the past, I didn't used to give words of affirmation, but after I read the words of affirmation book and then learn how to love people in different ways, right? Paying attention to Jesus and what he did. Now I give a little bit more compliments, but now I also realize how that can affect someone or get into somebody's mind and make them feel a way and think a way. So I gotta be careful. I gotta be cautious with the things that I say. I gotta be cautious with the things that I text, right? Because emojis, what can that do to someone? Right? It's not only about what I do to them, but what am I doing for myself to stay strong? Because I also got to think about how it can cause them to feel away, because causing that person to feel away, when they see me now, that emotion that they feel will be shown, right? They'll want to be around me more. They'll want to maybe feel me and do a little bit more because of what I said earlier or what I text earlier. Now it's in them, it's in their mind, it's making them feel away. So how do I keep that away? This is what we have to do, y'all. We have to learn how to restrain ourselves from certain things. I'm gonna keep it real. I wouldn't touch my girl body. You know what I'm saying? If that's my girl, but at the same time, what could that do? What could that do for me? How does that make me feel when I do it? It makes me feel very good. So I need to try my best to not touch her there. Try my best to not go to certain places. Try my best to not listen to music that has sex in it, right? We need to keep our minds off of this thing. Do you know where your mind goes? I need to be careful of what I see on social media. Why? Because someone like me, I ain't even thinking about no girl or nothing like that when I'm doing something, or just get on social media and I'm just looking and I'm laughing. The next thing you know, half naked girl pop up. I won't even thinking about it until it popped up. And now I'm around this girl that I like, or this woman that makes me feel good. You get what I'm saying? So no, I gotta restrain myself from these things. I gotta be careful where I go. For one, I shouldn't be in no strip club. I shouldn't be in no club. Why? Because I'm in the club and these girls is just like this, and girls is, being flirty and all of this. And I also can remember the things that I used to do in the past. So I need to learn how to restrain by cutting certain things off, by creating boundaries. You get what I'm saying? What can you do? Pay attention to yourself. And some of the things don't even have to be your conviction. They don't even gotta be a conviction. Just cut it out. Cut it off, right? Because a lot of times I be telling people, we think we stronger than the devil. You're not stronger than the devil. He's smarter than you. He was here before you. He's the ruler of the world. He knows all our temptations, but he's not stronger than God. We was born into sin. We was born in this world. We was born into the world that the enemy rules. But God is stronger than the world. God is stronger than my sin, than my temptation, than my weakness. So what do I need to do? Follow him, learn from him, practice with him. But when it comes to God, you need to cut things out. Ain't that what he does? You got to cut it off. Jesus said, if your eye causes you to do that, gauge it out. If your hand causes you to do it, cut it off. That means it has to go, right? But a lot of times we don't want to do that. So what am I going to do when I'm speaking to a girl, when I'm in a relationship? Here's a few things that I do. For one, Y'all might judge me, but I'm really this way. I will, if we're watching something, I'm gonna definitely see if that thing is, I'm gonna see what it's rated. I'm gonna see if it has sexual, whatever it is, sexual images, sexual language, whatever, right? And if any of that is in there, more than likely I'm not watching it. Now, let's just say I'm watching something where I didn't know something was in it and it just pop up. Then I'm skipping it and probably turning it off. I'm gonna skip it and hopefully if it doesn't pop up again, we good. But if it keeps popping up, turn that off. Music, I'm not listening to Trey songs. What I look like listening to Trey songs? I'm not listening to these songs that's all about sex. I gotta restrain and I have to train my mind, right? I have to remove these things. So when I'm in the presence of a woman or this woman, or if you're in the presence of a person or a guy, ladies, be careful. And I think also with women, right? I always say women, my sisters, y'all a little bit weaker to the ears. Men are weak to the eyes. So we fall in love with what we see. We will be extremely enticed by what we see. But women, on the other hand, my sisters, y'all are really more enticed by what you hear. And you say I'm a liar? For one, this has studies behind it. Two, you could look in the Garden of Eden. How did the enemy get to Eve? Was it just what he showed her? No, it was what he said to her, right? He didn't get to Adam that way, right? Eve didn't say nothing to Adam when she got the fruit. It says that he was there and she gave it to him. It didn't say that she said something to Adam. He was there. He saw it and she gave it, not said something, not said it to him. But the enemy said something to her. So a lot of the ladies, y'all got to be careful of how someone speaks to you, right? Restrain yourself because of how this man is speaking. Oh my God, it sounds so good. Oh my God, he's this and he's that. He's what? What is he? All he's doing is talking to you. All he's doing is saying things. You cannot see it. And sometimes if it's lustful, you need to let that go. But sometimes it don't even seem lustful, ladies. The man is just saying all sweet nothings. Something sounds good. And just, you know what I mean? But you got to be careful because, ladies, you got to pay attention to the man's integrity and his character, right? So pay attention to that, but also be careful to how a man sweet talks you and all of that. And I'm being real because I was like that. The way that I talk to him, I already know. Even though some of it is just how I am, just how I speak. But I also know certain ways that I used to be to women when it was being flirtatious. When I was flirting with them, my facial expressions, all of that. Be careful, ladies and brothers. I gotta be careful too, man. Right? Make sure you put in the boundaries of yourself, right? Of what you can't do, the women you can't be around, the things you can't do, the things you won't allow this woman to do. But also be careful how you speak to the women. Be careful how you move. Be careful where you go, right? Learn to restrain yourself from what the world is doing. Just because it feels good or feels good doesn't mean it is good. And I know a lot of people, well, this, well, that. Well, let me keep it real with y'all. Most of the things that we do that leads us to these things are not sins. It's not a sin. And this bothers me with us Christians, because everybody it's not a sin. It's not a sin. Everybody want to cry about something not being a sin. Forget the sin. Forget the sin. Look at the sin. And then look at the path that it takes to get to the sin. Do I want to be on that path? Do I want to be right next to it? No. So I remove myself. It's kind of like the environment that you are in creates you to be this way. The people that you are around, you start to be like. We're not going to say they are a sin, but the things they do are sinful. So it may not be sinful to be around them, but what they do and the things that they do and what it produces is sin. So if I go around them, more than likely, I'm going to start to be like them. Or let's just say if it's an environment of them, right? But when we look at Jesus, Jesus sat with the sinners, and I know y'all want to bring that up, but he had a whole lot of Christ followers with him. Jesus went and sat with them, but he ain't go do what they did. It wasn't them overtaking him, right? He didn't just go be fully all around and everything that they was doing. And I think people don't pay attention to that. You think Jesus is going to go play around in Sodom and Gomorrah? You think Jesus gonna go to a strip club? You think he gonna be in a strip club acting like, oh, I'm Jesus, ain't nothing gonna happen? No, he not going there. It's not happening, right? He might have been tempted, y'all, but Jesus kept himself away, right? The devil tried to tempt him. Notice that. The scripture don't say he tried to sin or the devil tried to get him to sin. The devil tried to tempt him in order to get him to sin. So he tried to bring temptation to him in order to get him to sin. Jesus restrained himself and kept himself away from it. The enemy fled because Jesus wasn't playing around. Don't, you can't tempt me with that. It's over. I'm gonna refuse that. I'm gonna deny that. He denied the temptation. And I think a lot of us don't pay attention. You think, oh, I can just deny the sinful part, but I can't deny the temptation. No, restrain yourself from the temptation, right? Adam and Eve, God said, don't go near that tree. What if you could just restrain yourself from that tree? Yeah, that tree looked good, but God said, stay away from the tree, which the tree was not sinful. So how do we restrain ourselves? How are you going to restrain yourself? There's no one answer that I can give you. I can only give you options. I can only help you in this area, but you only know what to do. All right. So if you got certain people that you're around and they like you and all of that, don't just be like, oh, they my friend. This girl like me and she just my friend. But she like you, my man. But he like you, my sister. Like, what you think he gonna do? What do you think he gonna do? Cut it off. Like Jesus, cut it off. You understand what I'm saying? Restrain yourself because that person's so nice and you think you nice. It's okay. It's okay if you know what I mean? But cut it off. It don't matter. Don't fall into that temptation, to the lies. We got to learn how to restrain ourselves from temptation. And that's what I have to do now, because obviously the enemy got a head out for me. So I restrain myself from doing things, from people I speak to, from how people speak to me, from the places I go, no matter if other people doing it. I'm going to restrain myself. I'm going to keep myself from that. And I'm going to stand on that with integrity, because that's what I said before it even presented itself. I don't fall off of it because it presented itself and then I'm like, well, what about one time? No, that's dead. It ain't happening. So I'm going to restrain myself. I'm going to keep myself from that thing that can cause me back into falling into that thing. I'm going to not go that place. I'm going to not speak that way. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to not flirt back. I don't even got to be nice back. I can be kind. There's a difference between nice and kind. So y'all, I hope this helped y'all in some way. I didn't really break down certain things, but I hope it opened y'all up to certain things that y'all can do for yourselves. You know, I done made a whole lot of other videos about sex, temptation, all of that, abstaining from sex and all that. If y'all want, y'all can check out my other videos. I also had a live that I did on it as well. But yeah, I hope this video blessed y'all, man. I love y'all. I'm going to get at y'all when I get at y'all.